on. Come on. It's annoying.
Okay.
People waited for so long for a Halo adaptation, and you throw out this trash, dude. It's trash.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Gaming Goods podcast. I, as always, am your host, Luke, joined today by my faithful co-hosts, Joey and Josh.
Hello.
How you feeling today, boys?
Good, feeling pretty good.
Doing
Good,
great.
Good. Why are you feeling good, Josh? How's school going?
School's going all right. It's a little stressful, but I get to talk about some games tonight. One of the most beloved franchises of all time. Luke, I know you've had some exposure of it in the past week or two.
Oh, have I? Oh my goodness, yes. I have been knee-deep in lore, retrospectives, anything I can get my hands on to do some extra research for this topic because it's a series that I absolutely adore. And Joey, you actually probably have the longest timeline of the three of us playing this franchise. So do you want to go ahead and open it up and tell us A, what the series is, and B, what your experience is with it?
Well, we're going to be talking about Halo, and I think we all have a pretty close experience of it. It's probably up there in our top games, honestly, at least for lore, because the lore is really cool.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The universe is cool. The weaponry is cool. The character models are neat. So I think my first exposure to it was, I don't know, it's been over a decade, honestly, at this point.
You've been in it for the long haul.
Yeah, it's kind of shaped my love for FPS games, I guess you could say, in the beginning.
And what was your first Halo game in the series that you played?
I think it was Halo, either 1 or 2. I don't remember. Whatever. I think it was Halo 1. Yeah.
Was it the CE? Was it Halo CE's anniversary, or was it the original?
No, it was the original. Xbox? It was on the original Xbox.
Nice,
for sure.
Nice.
For sure.
When did you guys have an original Xbox? That's news to me.
We didn't. My cousins had one.
Nice. Fun stuff. So you played 1 and 2 on that?
I watched a lot of gameplay of it. I actually wasn't allowed to play at that point because I was so young. So I was like, my mom was like, you can't play this game. So my cousins had to play it for me, and I could watch it, which is kind of goofy. It's like, you're still there for the content, so you're still absorbing it. But yeah, that's kind of how it went.
Still absorbing it, but it's like you're not actually throwing the grenade.
I'm not actually using the plasma sword to melee elites from the back now.
Of course, yeah. No, that would just be unethical.
Right.
Come on. So, Josh, what was your first game that you played from the Halo franchise?
I think it was Halo Reach was probably my first introduction to the franchise. I remember going over to one of my friend's house, and we'd stay up till like 3 a.m. Playing Reach, and mostly Forge, and we played a lot of firefight. That was one of my favorite modes at the time. But yeah, Reach was definitely my introduction to Halo. And then I would go back and watch videos over the older ones, and then I'd play like 3, 4, ODST, and then a little bit of Infinite, but mostly the newer games, I would say, like the 60% of the newer games I've definitely played.
Yeah, so my experience with Halo is, I never really played it growing up, but as I got older, someone introduced me to Halo Reach. I played a little bit of that. I played a little bit of Halo 3 ODST with you, Joey, and my brother Alex. We played a little bit of Firefight here and there. It was a long, long time ago, but this was before I had my own system. This was like split screen multiplayer, so that was some of the earliest memories. But I think about 4 years ago, I got Master Chief Collection, and I played 1 through 4 ODST and Reach. So I've played everything up till Halo 5 Guardians and Infinite. I have not played those 2 campaigns, but other than that, I've done everything. So.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah, so we have some varying levels of experience, some various amounts of Halo content absorbed and played through between the three of us. What's your guys' favorite aspect of Halo, and then what's your least favorite aspect of Halo, gameplay wise?
Oh my gosh, I think the worst thing they did was take out Firefight in the newer games for sure. Definitely one of the best features of I know it was definitely in Reach. I don't really remember what other game. I think it was only in Reach, actually.
It was in Reach and ODST. Those are the only 2 games that ever had Firefight, and that was because of a lack of multiplayer.
Yeah. ODST
so
was
sad.
like, I wish there are more Halo games like ODST where you're playing as just a different type of trooper, not Master Chief or any of the other Spartans. Pretty cool mechanics. I don't really know what my favorite part is. I would say probably like the universe, the lore.
Okay. Josh?
I would say gameplay wise, like Joey said, firefight was definitely my favorite thing gameplay wise. I also just love the way the guns feel and how powerful they felt at the time. That's something you can't really like replicate in new. Well, you can replicate in newer games, but I remember being like 8 years old and shooting the guns, and it just felt so good at the time, and
Right.
it just felt like you were Master Chief, and it felt like you were just so powerful. And Master
Mhm.
Chief is definitely one of my favorite characters. In all franchises, he definitely breaks top 10. I just love his methodology. I love his character and his development, and it's just awesome. I just love Master Chief.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, lately there's been a lot of talk, well, I guess in the past year or two, about the Halo show. Um, they released season one back in late 2021, I believe. No, 2022, I believe. And now we are in January of 2024. And next week, on the 8th of February, season two of the Halo TV show is slated for release. Have you guys been up to date at all with the show? Have you, heard any rumblings of, is this going to be better than season one? Okay, all right. Joey, tell us how you really feel.
It's trash.
Trash. Okay.
It's trash.
Why?
It's a terrible
have you
adaptation.
I know you told me you watched a couple episodes of it,
I
right?
watched it decent. Okay, it's not horrible. It's just honestly not what I was expecting, and I think the
Okay.
plot line is kind of goofy. Nothing is really similar to the games. I don't really think it sticks to the lore that well.
Mhm.
It's just weird. It's weird. They
Okay.
they make a lot. They make it a lot about other characters. Like, dude, could care less. Like, where's Master Chief? What's he doing? Where's the original Spartan Squad at? Like, go on a mission. Explore the artifacts more. Why does his head hurt? Like, come on, nobody cares. Like, put us in a firefight with the grunts and make the grunts laugh and throw plasma grenades and get them stuck. Come on. It's annoying.
Okay.
People waited for so long for a Halo adaptation, and you throw out this trash, dude. It's trash. And I'm done. That's it. That's all I have to
Some
say.
very,
All right?
very strong feelings from Joey.
Am
Josh,
I
what's your take
excited?
on-
No, I am not.
All right. Well, yeah, with that said, I don't hate it that much, but I haven't watched it. I've only seen reviews, and the reviews don't make me want to watch it. I think I'll get to it eventually, and with season 2, I think I'll be more inclined to watch it since there'll be more material out of it.
Mhm.
But from what I've heard, it just doesn't look appealing to me. I'll get to it eventually, but it kind of brings Halo's had a lot of adaptations, surprisingly. They've had like animated shows, live action movies that are very low key. One that I remember that I actually enjoyed, which I shouldn't have had because it wasn't that good, was Halo. Oh my gosh, what's
Forward
it
Unto
called?
Dawn.
Yeah, Forward Unto Dawn with Lasky. It was on
You didn't
Netflix
like
for the
that?
longest time. No, I did like it. I did
Oh,
like
okay.
it, but it wasn't very like accurate, I would
Right.
say. It had a
It
lot
was
of
alright.
no, it was good. I liked it, but like
Mhm.
in the universe, it probably didn't work very well. But whatever, I liked it. Then there's also, I think it was on YouTube, the Red versus Blue. Was that on
Yes,
YouTube?
that's fan content from Machinima. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
but
talk about that a little bit later in the
fantastic.
episode.
But yeah, they've had quite a bit of adaptations. None that's like really like this is solid. It's mostly been like mixed, like, this is good, but this could have been way better. And I feel like that's just gonna happen with this franchise because it's so beloved. People are gonna want this
Okay.
exact change. I know, like the Last of Us adaptation, people were so upset by a ton of changes they made, but like it's an adaptation.
Mhm.
You got to diverge from that.
Mhm.
Otherwise, just go play the game. I mean, it's gonna be the same exact thing.
Yes.
So in this case, the new show I think does that pretty well, where it's new, but I think it just does it a little too much from the reviews that I've seen, where it's like this doesn't even really feel like Halo in the sense that it should in the franchise that where it came from, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm currently 7 episodes in. I have 2 more to go on season 1, and I'm probably going to finish it and then watch season 2 as it comes out. So far, and I know there's a spoiler at the end. I'm still not going to reveal the spoiler because that. But from what I'm gathering, it's a very different methodology in terms of presenting Halo to an audience. I've talked to a few people that have watched it and have never played any of the games before, and they enjoy it. I have talked to people that have played the games before, and by and large, people who have played the games, extremely negative opinions, as we saw with Joey's outburst a few minutes ago. But one of the biggest grievances people have is that, you know, Chief takes his helmet off, and we see more of John than we do of Chief. And, you know, what you said, Josh, it doesn't feel like a Halo show. Part of that's because it's not really meant to feel the same way that a Halo game is meant to feel. Now, there's some writing choices that I definitely would have reworked. I would have changed some of the character interactions up to this point, but by and large, I'm enjoying seeing a different take on the Halo franchise. And also, it's a refreshing change of pace. I know a lot of people don't like that there's not a lot of combat, but for me, it's a refreshing change of pace to see Halo focused more on story, character, and development, as opposed to, hey, we can't go more than 3 minutes of a conversation without the Covenant kicking in our door and we have to do a 30-minute fight sequence. You know, if you want that, there's plenty of Halo content for that. But this is an outlet for, you know, if you're looking for something different within the same universe, you can go experience that through the Halo show.
Interesting. Yeah. You know, I think it'd be interesting if they would have done something like ODST, where you follow the point of view of a shock trooper, not maybe the same guy who got stuck like 30 hours later is trying to figure out what happened to the fall of the city. But if you had people like beforehand, they kind of talked about the invasion and then they drop on the city and then things afterward or something like that, or a totally different fire team or some of the first Spartans, or, you know, the maybe a Spartan growing up in the experiment and what he had to go through or something like that. Like there's so much room in the Halo universe, and where they decided to make the show just is a total failure of Master Chief's actual character and who he is in the video game and how he is in the adaptation.
It's very different, and if you're looking at it from that lens, it is a failure. And there's no argument against that, because, you know, it takes what Master Chief was in the games and it completely throws everything out the window, you know, because Chief never takes his helmet off. He's very stoic. He doesn't talk a lot. He's more brooding. People have to come to conclusions on his plans on their own, because he's a very unresponsive person. And the only person he really talks to throughout the entirety of the games is Cortana. And in the show, this is one of my things. I like that they're taking it in the direction of he's an actual like human that can talk and feel things, but he has too many lines of dialogue.
I agree.
It's a bit too drastic of a change for me. And the other thing is, I'm going to go back to the helmet issue briefly. A lot of people don't like that he takes his helmet off. I'm not going to lie. I don't care that he takes his helmet off. What's starting to bother me more and more is the situations in which he leaves his helmet off. Like there's one in, I think it's like the second episode, where he's walking around with the artifact, and he's in like a high population density area. There's a lot of people, a lot of angles, and he's got an artifact that a lot of people would kill him to have. He's got his helmet off while he's walking through this high traffic area. That bothers me, because that means that Chief is willingly putting himself at a combat disadvantage should something arise.
Yeah.
When we're in a protected and safe area, like him having a conversation with Halsey or with Keyes, there's no need necessarily for him to have his helmet on. That's okay. I don't have any problems with that. But it's like, it seems, let me phrase it like this. There seems to be more weight to the points in time where he puts his helmet on rather than when he takes it off. And in the game, the big point of contention is like, holy crap, he's taking his helmet off, which doesn't happen.
Right.
In the show, it's like, holy crap, he's putting his helmet back on. So that's one thing that I'm not too happy with. I think they can play with it. They can leave the helmet off at points, but it just needs to be on more consistently than it has been.
Yeah.
To me, like, I get that it's a different take, and you can take the helmet off. That's fine with me, honestly, to an extent, like you were saying it. But like the first season, it shouldn't have happened. Second season, like you got to get far into it and like establish the character first, and then maybe do that. Not like right off the bat. That's like in a way saying Spider-Man, don't wear your suit anymore. Like it doesn't matter. Like the part of Master Chief is his identity. It's like, who's behind the mask? We don't know what he looks like. We don't know who he is.
Yeah.
That's like kind of my take on it. Also, I wanted to know like when the story of the Halo show like takes place in the universe. Like, so what arc is it?
So this is a very
before we get into that point.
Thing.
Before we get into the storyline of that, I was gonna say this kind of happened in The Mandalorian too, but they did it in a better way because he had his helmet on for a while. But you have to think like it's not just a helmet like it is in football. Like it's a tactical advisor, and even in Halo, It's for respiration. It's for low oxygen environments. It has a flashlight on it. It has Cortana as an AI in it. Yeah, it has a whole HUD. It's like the Binocular in Slide 2. It's like it's ridiculous.
That's the other main difference that we're going to talk about here in a second with the show to the games. But Josh, remind me what you were just asking about. Timeline, right?
Yeah, the timeline. Is it like a new kind of story, or does it take place like somewhere in that universe?
Something that's very key to know and understand is this is on an alternative timeline / like continuity. It's not the same as the games. So it's not
connected to the games at all.
It's a different telling of the Halo story.
Yeah, there's no way it can be close.
Characters, there's no way it fits into the canon of the games because of the changes that they've made. So it's set before the first Halo game, but it's on a different timeline. I think it's called the Silver timeline because John's team is Team Silver and not Team Blue. So that's an important distinction to note, is like they're not retconning the games or changing what is true in the games for the sake of the show. This is a different continuity and a different timeline. Now, the second issue, a lot of people I've seen quite a bit about it, and it's the biggest probably change in the entirety of the show, is Cortana is in the games an AI that was on the Pillar of Autumn. She was the shipboard AI, and she was in charge of the entirety of the systems, working in conjunction with Captain Keyes to orchestrate the ship. The reason that she ends up with Chief is because she gets pulled from that as the Pillar of Autumn's crashing onto the first Halo ring, which is the fourth Halo apparatus. We'll get into that if we want to. But as they crash, Chief is responsible for getting Cortana off safely in order to preserve all the intelligence that she has from falling into the hands of the Covenant. In the show, Cortana is not a memory chip that gets uploaded into Chief's helmet. She gets injected into his brain, actually. So that's a very, very big change. So like Cortana, her and John got separated in the games in a couple different scenarios, especially there's one point where she stays on High Charity, which is the Covenant's kind of like home base, while Chief has to go off and do something, and they're not in contact with each other for a while. That's not a possibility in the show because Cortana has been injected into his brain and roots herself through his neurological system in order to have that connection. So that's something that's been frustrating with me because I really like the dynamic of, Cortana and Master Chief are one and the same when they're linked together, but they also work as individuals, and that's not something you see as much in the show.
It's like Cortana's her own entity in the games, whereas in the show they are one. And yeah, I don't like that. I think if they explored it more in the later seasons, where somehow they remove Cortana and she maybe gets like angry by this, and that kind of like sets off a whole chain of reactions, that'd be cool. But like, I'm not liking that so much.
Yeah. And it's interesting how they interact together in the show too, because it's not like how they interact in the game. Like even if they are separate or the same entities, or kind of how you said earlier, it just doesn't make any sense the way they portray Master Chief, and like his emotions are just totally different from how they are in the game. So it's just a totally different they should have called her a different AI at this point. It doesn't even make sense to call her Cortana.
It does, because it's still technically it's sprouted from a clone of Halsey, which is still continually true in the game, right. The game canon. The only difference is instead of being cloned into an AI that stayed on a microchip, she's cloned and her consciousness is transferred into John's brain, which is a very different take, and it actually inhibits Cortana's ability to, do some of the things you see her do in the games, be that uploaded into an interface on a ship or anything like that. That's not really something that can happen unless they want to establish Bluetooth with her or something. But that seems like it'd be stupid. I could see them maybe in the future, Josh, doing something like what you said, of make her removable. But what's really kind of been nagging at my brain is with AIs in Halo, over the course of their lifespan, usually around 7 years after they are born, they are decommissioned. And that's for a very particular reason. It's because rampancy, the thing that Cortana develops over the course of the fourth game, develops in AIs after 7 years of a lifespan. And that is erratic movements, erratic motions, bad decision making, and just basically a devolution into madness. I'm very, very curious as to what's going to happen if they get that far in the series. If it gets 7 years after this current point where they're at in the show, and Cortana basically, is she just going to corrupt John's mind? There's not really anything that could address that right now. So I'm very curious to see what happens with that, but I'm not super excited for it because, again, it's like a blend of the two characters instead of their own entities.
It would be kind of cool to see, like, if she goes crazy, not like goes crazy, but she gets corrupted.
No, that's what it is.
And she goes crazy. She's corrupted, and she's corrupting John. And what would be cool is if John Locke came in then and had to stop Master Chief, and it's like the Halo 5 and a little bit of Halo 4, like Halo 4 and Halo 5's campaign kind of merged together into one season. That would be kind of cool to see that. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm actually surprised that a second season happened. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
I am too. Now, one thing I do want to give credit to, despite the writing, I'm not a super big fan of the side plot where they talk about, I don't know if you got into any of this at all, Joey, in the episodes you saw, but they follow Soren, who's he's a deserted Spartan who basically runs his own pirate group now.
Yeah.
I love his character. I'm not a huge fan of the plot that he goes through in the first season, so I'm excited to see what happens with him in season 2, as someone who left the Spartan 2 program.
I feel like if any Spartan would have left the program, they probably would have got shot on sight or killed.
Well, the only reason he survived is because John gave him 5 minutes. It's
wouldn't have happened, man. It wouldn't have happened.
Flesh it out. But I do really like how well they are kind of engaging with the ethics and the morality of the Spartan 2 program, because that's something that's not really addressed in the game. How much do you guys know about the evolution of the Spartan program?
It's probably is not as difficult as becoming a Space Marine. I'll just say that, but it is extremely difficult. The survival rating is like 0.1%. They pick up orphans off of dead worlds, basically.
No,
sometimes not in the beginning, but.
So there's 4 different iterations of the Spartan program. The Spartan 1s, the first series, also known as, I forget the project name. Project Cerberus? No. Anywho, Spartan 1s, if you've played the games 1 through 3, you know who Sergeant Johnson is. Sergeant Johnson was a candidate for the Spartan 1 program. Basically, they took war vets who wanted to volunteer to be part of the process to try and get amplifications and enhancements genetically, in order to find out a way to make super soldiers more effectively. Spartan 2 program, that is the process of, that's where John was made, that's where Master Chief was made as the Spartan 2s. This is super, super dark. They basically would go to planets in the outer colonies, and they would find children with the biggest and best aptitudes for soldier-like behaviors, and then they would, without the parents' knowledge, obviously, they would abduct the children, replace them with a clone that is genetically altered to contract a disease and die within the next 6 months, and replace the kid, and they would just take them and train them till the age of 16, where they would be instituted into the military. So, yeah. So Master Chief's parents, they basically had their kids stolen from them, replaced with a clone. They knew the clone for like 4 months. It got sick, it died, and they thought their son was dead. Reality, he's a Spartan.
That's crazy, dude.
It gets dark.
That's crazy.
Absolutely horrifying. So and it's a clone of John. So like it's a clone of Master Chief. So it was him. But one of the things they cover in the show and in the games is flash cloning is illegal. That's not something that you're allowed to do. Dr. Halsey, if anyone knows who Dr. Halsey is or doesn't think she's an awful person, please get that out of your head. Halsey is a awful person. Like, she does so many heinous crimes against humanity, all in the name of like making the perfect super soldier. Yes, that's great. She gets results, but like, she abandoned her humanity so long ago that it's not even present anytime you see her. So that was the Spartan 2 program. Spartan 3 and 4s are more of a casual, I guess, if you can say that, experience, where they move back towards volunteers and adults as opposed to abducting children. And
a more ethical way.
More ethical, I guess. Yeah. Not as
and it
effective.
changes the game because of the 4 types. The Spartan 2s are by far the most effective because they are, they're raised from the age of 6 to be Spartans. They're given genetic and augmentations
Drugs.
and enhancements when they are young, and that allows their bodies to develop into super soldiers in supplement to the other enhancements that they can give them. They are the only people that can wear the Mark IV Mjolnir armor, which is the ones that the Spartan 2s like Master Chief wear, because it takes immense durability in order to be able to wear and utilize that armor effectively. Otherwise, basically, your organs will get thrown around and crushed inside the suit because of the different high speeds and reflexes that the suit helps you make.
It's like 1 ton or 2 tons. Like, that's how much the armor weighs. It's such a dense material, like way more than tungsten. It's insane.
Now, to be fair though, it is also an exoskeleton. So if the armor locks up on you, you're not moving that. Yeah. But the Spartans with the aid of the exoskeleton, they are the only like humans with bone density and muscle tissue that is strong enough and dense enough to be able to withstand what the Mjolnir armor puts it through.
That's crazy.
Yeah, a
Sorry,
lot of those.
I just ranted quite a bit, but I told you guys I've been just absorbing
wild.
Halo stuff for like the past week.
Yeah, a lot of those orphans didn't survive. Like the actual
so
clones.
I think
like
it was
when
like
they were pumped with so
one
many drugs, they like couldn't. They just literally wouldn't survive. Like some of the Space Marines in Warhammer.
I want to say the survival rate was like 12%, maybe lower. So it was like even of all the kids they abducted, only like 1 out of every like 45 actually made it through the process.
Probably, yeah.
So yeah, that's the Spartan program.
So we kind of went in depth like with the show. I kind of want to push it back and just because so many people are so negative about the show, but I kind of want to understand why they're so negative. And to do that, like, well, I know why, but for people listening, I want them to know why people are having these concerns. So I don't want to push it back and just talk about the games and why they're so beloved and kind of what made them what they are today.
Yeah. Joe, you want to take the reins?
Yeah, I guess we can kind of start off with Master Chief here. Number one, he doesn't spit off and talk in monologues like ever. He'll say like a few sentences in some of the newer games and some of the older games. He like just doesn't talk at all. But the other characters will in the game. They'll talk a lot and they'll just like look at him, and then you'll see his visor like look at whoever the character is, like kind of flash. They're like, "All right, man, I get it. Like I know that you know what he's trying to say just from like his body language."
Yes.
And he does talk a little bit, like I said in the newer games. In the older games, I don't really remember him talking so much, but he didn't even have to.
Yeah.
He didn't even have to. But that's one thing. Luke, what's another thing you can think of?
So one of the things that makes the game so beloved was this was probably the best transition to a first person shooter onto the generation of console that it was. When Halo Combat Evolved came out, it wasn't just like, oh, that was a good first try. It was just good. And it was a great way to move into a 3D space with first-person shooters, and it kind of set up a standard for everything that followed it. So, like Call of Duty, yes, it had some baselines, but Halo really kind of catapulted gameplay forward, and it did it in a different way. Some of the weapons and whatnot, you can't even aim down your sights. You have to fire from the hip. It's a different button format than a lot of first-person shooters. So you have to really kind of relearn how to operate in a first-person shooter, which is a good experience because in today's day and age where, there's, first-person shooters are a dime a dozen. And now you're forced to be like, hey, the right bumpers are melee button. Our left trigger is grenades. It's not aim down sights. Those things make a difference. And that added to, how smooth and fun the gameplay is and the types of enemies you encounter and the variety of which you encounter them, those are probably some of the big things that make people really, really like the series.
Yeah.
A couple big things that I think of is one, the atmosphere and the environment and the characters that establish the world of Halo. You can go in depth with the lore like you were, Luke, and you could just have it at surface level where it's just the campaign. You get what you get, and it's still a solid experience. Also, Halo was one of the first games to really kick off like a competitive scene in multiplayer. It had one of the biggest multiplayer um, fan bases of all time. It still has one of the biggest fan bases of all time because of that competitive scene. And I don't really know much about the competitive scene. I never really got into that, but I know there's so many people that still love it even today. That's why most people get the games, or because of the multiplayer.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, the first person thing is definitely huge. I definitely agree with that. And also you have to consider Bungie in this was the first developer of the original games, and what sucks about that is I still wish we had Bungie developing it and not 343 Industries, but I know
Everyone
Bungie's
does.
did Destiny, but I mean, people move on to
Yeah.
new games and stuff like that, but I definitely would say the competitive scene was one of the big reasons why
Yeah.
Halo got as big as it did.
For sure.
Something to note is that I don't know if you guys know this, but like Halo 2 had like the best release of all time in terms of games. No one beat it. It sold some crazy number of copies. In fact, let me pull that up. But it had the biggest release window of any game ever. It was monumental because Halo 2 built it up, and then when Halo 1 built it up, and then when Halo 2 dropped, everybody and their brother wanted this game. People were buying Xboxes just to play this game, nothing else. And it actually was really rushed because they needed to get it out by Christmas of that year that they released it, which I believe was 06, because they were slated to release the Xbox 360 the following year. And they wanted to put Halo 3 on that one, and 2, which was already in development, on the original Xbox. So they had to get it out, so it was rushed, which is the only reason that we have the cliffhanger ending that we do at the end of Halo 2. So let me look that up. You guys can elaborate on that.
You saying it's rushed just means it's a perfect game in today's standards.
Yeah.
100%.
Like that was probably a perfect game still,
like
compared to like
development was
Cyberpunk
rushed.
releasing.
The development team, actually, there's like multiple interviews of them talking about how like they were in the trenches, just work all the time. Sometimes they would sleep at the office just so they could keep getting more stuff done.
Wild.
Jeez.
Yeah, they left out a lot of
it
assets.
was nuts.
There were like stuff embedded in the code they didn't use, and I think Halo 2 is, I think it's one of the only Halos where you can dual wield, and that's like the best
Halo 2 and
feature
3.
ever, because you can hold a plasma pistol in your left hand, and then hold it. Oh my gosh, dude, don't even get me. It's so much fun. So cool.
Is it the best-selling game in a certain amount of time?
Halo 2 has sold over 8 million copies in the U.S. It was the best-selling game of all time on the original Xbox. And
dude, that's easy.
From the day of its release until 2006, 2 years later, it was the most played game on Xbox Live. It wasn't even close until eventually Gears of War beat it on the 360. So it took till the next console generation for someone to beat the numbers of the people playing that game in sequence.
Which Gears of War? 3? Or 2?
Maybe.
Probably 2.
2 or 3.
Gears of War 2 Horde mode was really cool.
It just says Gears of War. I don't know if it's a specific or if that means
It'll just be the first one.
It might just
but
be
I don't
the
know
first
when
one,
that released.
But yeah,
Maybe
so yeah,
2008.
Halo 2 released in 2004. Then the Xbox 360 came out, Halo 3 ODST, then Halo 3, and then Reach came on after that. And that was Bungie's last game developing a Halo game in the franchise. And then we move on to 343 Industries when we get Halo 4, which was close to 2010. And then, Five Guardians was 2015, and then Infinite released late 2021.
Everything was downhill completely after Reach. Now, there were still pretty solid games. Like Halo 4 is pretty good. Halo 5 what even is it? Infinite.
Yeah.
I remember in Halo Reach there were posters around certain maps that had Destiny like marketed.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like I don't even know what it was, like be a guardian or something. I don't know. But that was pretty cool. I like Halo 4. I like Halo 5. The only Halo I don't like is Infinite. And it could be better right now. I don't know. I haven't played it since launch, so I really don't. I have no desire to play it because they changed the whole format of how it is. It's a live service game. It's literally terrible, and I don't even know what to do about the game because it's literally so bad. I don't even want to play it.
Yeah, let me put this in perspective for you guys. So Halo 2, on its release day, in the first 24 hours of it being available to the public back in 2004, how much do you think it did in sales?
Wait, which game?
Halo 2, when it came out in 2004.
Unreleased?
Was it a midnight release? I assume.
I think so. But within 24 hours of the game releasing, how much money do you think they brought in on sales?
5 million.
No, I'll
Josh?
say
Actually, probably more.
13.5 million.
They sold $125 million worth of copies of the game in 24 hours.
Oh, that was a wow. How much money is that now?
And that's 2004 money. And that's also
Monopoly
in
money then.
2004 before gaming was much as destigmatized as it is today. So Halo 2 was doing something right.
Oh yeah.
They knew exactly what they were up to.
Do you think it was? I think it was also a combination of they were doing something right and everybody else just was doing something wrong, because you don't remember many games in 2004, 2000, like between 2004 and 2007 that were making like huge numbers. Why is that? Probably because they weren't releasing anything substantial like Halo was. Halo was doing it so good that nobody else was.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like at the time Xbox was quality and PlayStation was quantity.
Mm-hmm. So
PlayStation was
some
that
other
nothing.
games that came out in 2004, Silent Hill 4 The Room, Gran Turismo 4,
Mm,
Grand Theft Auto San
Mm.
Andreas, Far
That was
Cry,
big,
the
that was big.
original, and the original
Far
Fable,
Cry is
and then Dragon Quest 8. Those are, and then World of Warcraft. So there's
Oh
quite a few.
wow.
There's quite a few big games, but like when you think of
But were they all
2004,
big like right at the beginning? That's
I
what
mean,
see,
World of
because like
Warcraft has been big for a long time, dude.
that one, World of Warcraft,
Yeah.
yes. San Andreas, I felt like probably took a little bit to get like a lot of attention, but probably still pretty big.
Yeah.
Mhm. But when I Google search, significant game releases in 2004, when something that makes the initial page listing is NBA 2K5, a game that releases every year, there weren't that many games that were up and above Halo 2.
Yikes. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's a little bit of how hyped people were for Halo 2, and then Halo 3 just continued to roll with it. And then 343 takes over. Everything kind of changed after Reach was released.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
I'd agree.
Joey, do you want to give me a bit of a story breakdown? I feel like I'm talking a little too much, so I want to hand it off to you. Of like Halo 1, 2, and 3. Like, give us a plot synopsis to the best of your ability.
Oh, I don't even know the plot anymore. I don't even
What?
think I even
What do you
played the whole
mean?
games there. I don't study it. I don't study the lore. I don't look at the videos or anything. I remember the flood being a huge issue in the first game, and the second game I know you play a lot with the Arbiter, and the third game I don't even know what even happens. Honestly, I really don't.
So, okay. I'll try and keep this brief because I've been droning on quite a bit. But so basically, over the course of the first 3 games, it's the human versus Covenant war, and in the first game, it's Chief and Cortana as they're on the 4th Halo array. There are 7 total in the galaxy, all of which can be activated from the Ark of the Covenant, which is something that you don't get to till Halo 3. Halo 1 is centered around traveling through the Halo array and figuring out what it is, what its purpose is, and how to destroy it. They eventually destroy it at the end of Halo 1. Halo 2 continues the Human Covenant War, where you are worried about taking out the Prophets. There are 3 of them. I believe it's Regret, Mercy, and... oh, I forget the third one. But besides the point. So there's 3 Prophets, which are basically in charge of the entirety of the Covenant. Covenant of that which is made up of a couple different races. You have the Ungoi or the Grunts, you have the Jackals, you have the Sangheili or the Elites, and then you have the Brutes, which I can't remember the other name for. But those 4 factions are all kind of been assimilated into the Covenant. They are the forces humans are fighting against, and they are all led by 3 prophets who basically push this gigantic, religious effort in order to say, like, hey, we got to destroy humans because we're supposed to be in charge. Which is really ironic because their whole religion is based off a mistranslation, which is discovered in the third game, and it basically boils down to you're fighting the Covenant and you're slowly killing the prophets throughout the 3 games, and at the end of the 3rd game you get the last prophet, and everything ends. The Human Covenant War comes to a close, and the Arbiter and Chief they're on the Forward Unto Dawn, which gets chopped in half because they're trying to leave the Ark, and their ship gets caught in a slip space portal, and Chief and Cortana's half of the ship gets sent to a random part of space, and the Arbiter's gets to stay where it was because it didn't get caught in it. So that's how Chief and Cortana end up where they are at the start of Halo 4. So that was my not so quick breakdown of what Halo's storyline is.
Yeah, the storyline's pretty in depth. I like this story. I just don't remember a lot of the plot points,
Yeah,
especially
and
because I
that's just me
was young.
scratching the surface because I
There's
didn't
still
even really
so
bring
much
up
more.
the Halo arrays. The whole part of the religion was they were trying to activate the Halo arrays to cleanse the galaxy because it destroys everything, all sentient life, and that is what it's a failsafe to stop the flood from reproducing. And without any sentient life, the flood can't reproduce and expand, so the
Right.
flood will eventually die off until new life comes around. So yeah,
Do the Prometheans get introduced in 4?
yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's when you get into the didact, you get to the foreigners, and then you get to
Yeah.
the it's there's a lot that goes on in four
Dude,
and
there's a
five.
lot
Yeah.
more. Since it's a little
Um,
bit more recent, and because the next season comes out in like a week or two, season 2 of Halo
yeah,
Infinite. How much have you guys played Halo Infinite? What are your thoughts? Explain.
I have only
Elaborate.
played I have only played a little bit of the multiplayer of Halo Infinite. Yeah, it's kind of a return to form in terms of like the gameplay. The graphical, restructure is back to where it was at the end of the original run by Bungie, which is definitely good. But there's still elements that I think it's genuinely a good Halo game in terms of multiplayer gameplay, but I haven't played the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't played the game either, or I'm sorry, I've played the multiplayer. I haven't played the open world aspect to it. I really want to play the open world aspect to it, but I've just deterred away from it from other people's comments and just
Yeah.
things I've seen about it. It just doesn't seem anything I'd want to play. I don't even really know how it works. It's like an open world map, but it's like a single player. I don't know. Like Josh, you might know more about it than we do.
It's so okay. I played the beta of the multiplayer. That was my first exposure to it, and then I did play some of the multiplayer when it came out because it was on Game Pass.
Yeah, yeah,
But the multiplayer, I agree, it's very solid, pretty fun. I think it's like an 8 out of 10 multiplayer. It's really
yeah.
good.
It's really
Yeah,
good.
I think
Honestly,
I think there needs more to be elaborated, but still solid foundation, really good.
yeah,
I played like 2 or 3 hours of the campaign, and I remember going to the open world part because like the first hour of the campaign is just like a linear fashion. It's just kind of the tutorial and getting you into it, and then you get into the open world aspect, and it's open world to an extent. There's like objectives to do, and that progresses you through the campaign from what I
Yeah.
remember. And then once I got to the open world aspect, I stopped playing because it was so different from the older Halos. It's not what I was expecting, and I was like, I don't know if I want to play this style.
Okay.
I kind of want the old style, and I know that's something I just kind of had to adapt to. But then I just never came back to it. And on top of that, the game was buggy.
mm.
There was really no roadmap for the game. There was to some extent, but like barely. And that's a big problem that people were having issues for. Like
There was
Halo
no
5
co-op either, if I remember
at the
correctly.
at the launch at launch, yeah, there was no co-op.
That's
There was like
unfortunate.
there was like nothing, and they've been making these promises. They were making the promises since 2016 that it was going to be this huge game, all these things. None of it pulled through. And
Right. Yeah.
Halo 5 had a better roadmap for its first year than Halo Infinite had for like its upcoming 3 years or anything. Like
Yeah.
Right.
they just put. I just don't understand how it was so hyped up too.
Oh yeah.
Everybody was buying Series X's, just like Luke was saying. Everybody was buying Xboxes for Halo 2. Everybody was buying Series X's for Halo Infinite because they thought it was going to be this return to
The form.
what
Yeah.
what we knew. But then it just. I think what turned most people off is that it was a live service game, and
Yeah.
that's just affecting every game nowadays in quality. I think.
Oh
It does.
man.
Because nothing's incentivized to be done before release. We've talked about that
Right.
65 times on episodes, so I'm not
Right.
going to say any more than that. But yeah, so Halo. The nice thing about Halo is, like Joey said earlier in the episode, if you're one of the people that likes to do lore, that likes supplemental content, there are, I think, like 20 different novels that you can read detailing different
Mhm.
missions in the Halo series. On top of that, they actually have a pretty good track record of doing promotional materials that are like story based leading up to the release of a new game. So, one of the things that I've listened to in the past, 3 to 4 days whilst prepping for this episode was Seek the Truth. And there's 2 seasons of it. And basically, it's an audio experience, like back when they had like radio shows that were like TV, but not on screen, obviously. So you have audio effects of all kinds. People are voicing, they're playing their characters. It's not just a narration. And it covers a reporter who's trying to uncover the truth about the Spartan 2 program after he gets assigned a task to work on a piece about Master Chief. And so he starts connecting dots, and they, ONI, which is the basically the governing body of the UNSC, to kind of make sure that the Office of Naval Intelligence, that's what it is. They basically, there's some more espionage like type stuff to try and shut him down and get him in prison. And it's a really well done series. And it's both seasons total to like 10 total hours of listen time. So if you have a commute, you can gradually work your way through that, and it's not that long. It's a lot of fun to listen to. But that was released leading up to the release of Halo 5 back in 2015. And, obviously there's Forward Unto Dawn, which was released prior to Halo 4 back around 2010, 2011. So, they've done good, traditionally with having, pre-release content and things leading up to it. It's almost like Halo had the same kind of method as, I don't know if you guys remember, but when The Dark Knight was getting released back in like 2008, they had like this worldwide marketing campaign where people could go on like websites and find detailed pictures of like the Joker, and you had to find certain codes and break certain combinations in order to unlock like a preview trailer. They've done things like that in the past. So
cool.
That's a really cool aspect of Halo.
Halo has definitely grown. We could do a whole podcast on the lore in general.
Probably.
100%. Dude, you can talk about the Covenant for hours on end, man.
You could.
I could talk about the Arbiter for like 20 minutes easily. Do you guys know what the Arbiter actually like is? I won't go too in depth.
No, I don't. Yeah, if you say it, I'll probably remember it.
You probably will.
He's like a representative for the Sangheili that can speak English or something, right? Something like that. He's like kind of an ambassador.
Not exactly. Ambassador's closer. So basically what the Arbiter is, it's a position given to a once great leader that failed to a colossal degree, and now instead of getting executed, they are serving out basically a life sentence of servitude toward the High Council, which are the prophets I talked about earlier. And so basically the Arbiter that we know and love from Halo 2 and 3 was the elite that was in charge of the mission to stop Master Chief from destroying the 4th Halo array in the first game. So because of his failure, he was put on trial and set to be executed until the prophet said, hey, we have a different purpose for you. We want you to serve us directly, take orders only from us, and we'll allow you to live until you die thanks to this job, effectively. So he's surviving, and he's basically, it's a position given to someone only in great times of need. Like if it weren't like a desperate time for the prophets and they didn't need every available man, they wouldn't give this position to anybody. But the guy we know and play as in Halo 2 and 3, it's because of his failure in the first game.
Dude, there's so much. I want to get more into the lore of Halo, but it's so
great,
much,
dude. It's so great.
So much. I do want to go back and play the Master Chief Collection again.
You should. I fully plan to buy it once it goes on sale on Steam next, and I'm gonna play through all the games again because.
Look, play the games you've already bought first.
Yeah,
that's fair, but like Halo.
That's my problem. Okay, true, you got me there. Honestly, I can't even argue with that.
Fair enough. I will get through it. I know Elden Ring DLC is coming out soon, so I will be.
I don't know, man. Who said that? Who said that? Who said
that? Are people giving you information or something? Who?
Tell us.
I've been told by like 3 or 4 friends. They're like,
nah, your friends are gaslighting you. Your friends are gaslighting you, bro. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. I just watched a video on From Software that got released like 12 days ago. It's Shadow of the Ur Tree. We don't really know for sure yet, but the 2-year anniversary is coming up here at the end of February, so we're kind of hoping we get like a trailer or something pretty soon. That's all I'm gonna say. A safe bet
for new information, at least. But I will probably try and. I need to finish Hogwarts Legacy, and I need to get through Elden Ring. Those are my 2.
Just go straight to Elden Ring
right now.
Honestly, go straight to Elden Ring.
Mason's playing Elden Ring like right. Actually, he was playing it today. He sent me a picture today. I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm watching a video on it right now.
Oh jeez. But anyway, so that's all I got, guys. I mean, we've talked about, the release of Halo, what makes it beloved. We've talked about the gameplay. We've talked about the different aspects of co-op campaigns are something we didn't really touch on, but that's a really neat portion of Halo 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And you can do that in Reach and ODST as well. It's such a well-rounded game, and even on the releases that were like rushed and had to get out by a certain point, so they had to cut content, still phenomenal entries into the series. So
yeah,
it's a fantastic series. They never let us down when Bungie was doing anything. 343, they've had some questionable stuff, but
for sure.
I think it's very far from a dead franchise, and I think if the right people get their hands on the IP and get the opportunity to make something, I think, Joey, we could see something else like ODST, where we see the perspective of,
oh man,
maybe we get to see a training, like we get to see a part of a game where you train as a Spartan, or maybe we get to see the perspective of someone who's just a baseline fighter, not even like a Marine, in the UNSC. Or maybe we get more in-depth lore about, the Covenant. Maybe there's a Jackal that's super, super powerful. Because, I mean, there's different grades for each of the different enemies. There's like 7 or 8 different ranks for each of the enemies in Halo. So there's so much to break down. There's so much possible content. And even if you wanted to go back to the Foreigners, there's even more. So
true.
I love it. It's great.
Luke did say something about it not being a dead franchise, but unfortunately, I do think it's going to be a dying franchise soon, especially with the Activision Blizzard deal with $70 million, or $70 billion, actually, sorry. And the 19,000 Microsoft employees that got laid off.
19,000?
Yeah.
19,000 people, yep. Because
Wait,
of the deal
what?
that they made.
Wait, I missed this.
Do you not know anything about this?
No. You need to tell me right now.
We'll have to do like some sort of episode on this because this is huge in gaming. But essentially, Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard for $69 billion. $69 billion.
Microsoft acquired them.
Yes, acquired them. So basically, they have the rights over Call of Duty, Overwatch, Diablo, all those games. They have those are their IPs now. Whoa. And in doing this, they had to lay off 19,000 people because of all the money they spent on that. They can't pay these employees, which is 8% of all of Microsoft's gaming employees. So that's a big deal. And I think Halo is definitely going to feel the aftermath of this. COD, even in the future, is going to probably have an uprising because it'll be on Game Pass. I actually have hope for COD in the future because of this, but everything that is right now, things are going to start getting a little heavy for
There's a lot
IPs.
up in the air.
They better step it up.
There's way more past that. That's just like the surface level of what's happened. So I do want to do an episode on that because it's honestly insane. And that's Microsoft's biggest. Actually, people have stated that this is like the biggest deal between companies in all of gaming history. So this is big. And that happened like a year ago, I think. It's been in the works for like 3 years, but it just got acquired like last year or something.
Thank God EA didn't buy them. I'll just say that.
Oh my God!
You want to buy this? Too bad. To buy this, you have to buy that, and to buy that, you need to buy this.
I just want a non-EA new Star Wars game. That's all I want.
Would you like to open up a loot box?
It's like, would you like to eat today? I need 3 loot boxes to see if I maybe get a meal.
First, you must give us $500 to be able to play this game, even though you already bought it.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any closing remarks, final thoughts on the Halo franchise?
We'll have to do more episodes on individual games in the future. We kind of talked directly about the franchise, but we'll have to go in depth with each game eventually. Halo's very cool. Love it. Adaptations could be a little bit better. It definitely has a lot of potential. I think it's going downhill right now, but it could definitely come back up eventually. But we'll never get back to the prime days of Halo. We'll just have to live with what we have, and new stuff is new. New iterations of it is fine. Yeah. Just try to keep it to the best of the originals, and hey, they can do what they want, but people aren't gonna like what they put out sometimes, and that's fine.
Yeah. I just have one thing to say. Imagine if they made a Halo game that is like Elden Ring. That's all I have to say.
That's true. That'd be pretty
Can you
cool.
imagine a boss fight against a huge mutated hunter that like take 20 minutes to kill, dude? Like that's it. I'm done. It just sounds fun.
I digress.
That also reminds me, I left the hunters out of my description of all the different races in the Covenant, but the hunters they're pretty interesting as well. But again,
We'll get
I'm
into
done
it.
with my lore for the day. We'll get into it another time. My final thought is I agree with Josh. I think there's potential. It could go either way right now, and I think a big thing as to where Halo's going to go in the next 5 to 6 years is going to depend. I really do think it's going to depend on how season 2 of the show gets reviewed. I think if season 2 is received well and there's an uptick in the number of people interested in Halo and wanting to expand on that from a new audience, I think it could see a massive upswing. But I mean, they spent a lot of money, Paramount did, on getting their trailer to premiere in the middle of was it the NFC or the AFC Championship game this past weekend?
I don't know. I didn't
The
see
trailer
it.
it was the Chiefs and Ravens game. At halftime of the game,
I didn't see it.
At
I was
halftime
watching
of
the game. I didn't
they
see
premiered
it.
the trailer for season 2. So they are trying to push Halo as a franchise for the TV show, which means we might see something in terms of, a new game in the relative future. I've also seen rumblings and news stories about they're going to stop working on Halo Infinite and they're going to stop, making new content in favor of doing another game. So the applause from Josh. So, anywho, all right. That's it.
There you have
thank you everyone so much for listening to this episode of the Gaming Goons podcast. We hope you enjoyed. We appreciate every minute you spend with us, and we hope you make your day just a little bit better, be that wherever you are watching or listening from. My name, as always, is Luke, and I am joined today by Joey and Josh, and we'll see you guys next time.
Goodbye, Goons.
See ya.